Welcome to No Borders with Brian and Carrie. Today we are discussing the pros and cons of the nomadic lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean everybody thinks it's a pro. All of our friends, all you guys, this is great, man. You're living the dream, you're on vacation 24/7. Pump the brakes.
Right.
Pump the brakes a little bit. We are living our dream. We do love what we're doing. But pump the brakes.
Right. There are a ton of pros to the lifestyle we're living, but I think sometimes people can sugarcoat it and not look at those negatives. And I think that when you are contemplating possibly living that kind of lifestyle, you want to make sure that you have really analyzed both sides of it and understand that there are going to be a lot of cons that come with it as well.
But what we're going to do, because we're positive people, is we're going to start with the positives. We're going to stay happy, and we're going to do the positives first in this video. We'll get to the cons later, but let's talk about the pros.
The first major pro is freedom and flexibility. We really get to look at our schedule or our year ahead and decide when and where we want to travel. And this, I think, is probably one of the things I love most about our lifestyle. We do this all the time.
Yeah.
We may we kind of generally know where we're going to go in the next 2.5 months, but we may look at the 3 months forward from now and we have a general idea where we're going, but then all of a sudden one of us will get an idea. It's like, ooh, that sounds really cool. And then we can look into it. You just don't have that freedom and flexibility otherwise.
Right, the freedom to explore, just to kind of do what you want. Now, like Carrie was just saying, that we plan out about 2 or 3 months. Sometimes we have an idea what we're going to do further out than that. But if a viewer has a great idea for us and they make a comment, a perfect example was Peru. We did not have Peru really on our radar until 2026. Now it could be as early as next spring. So those are the types of things that we just say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should rethink this and add that to our list.
Right, because if you settle in one location, you don't get that freedom. You know, I mean, sure, you can travel from there. You can go, okay, well, let's go away for a week. You know, I mean, that's great. You can do that. You still have the expenses of the place that you've settled at. Now you're paying on top of that to go get a place to rent in this new place you're going to go visit. So I think just for us, that not being tied down to one location, knowing, because one of the things we're even discussing recently, because we recently arrived to a location that after getting there within a couple days, we're kind of like, we kind of only needed a couple days here.
Right.
And it would have been really nice to just move on from here and go someplace else. So we're kind of talking about possibly not booking ahead and winging it a little bit more.
Yeah, and we have the flexibility to do that now because there are a lot of times during the year that we're in the off season. So we know we'll be able to find accommodations if we get to a place, spend a couple nights in a hotel, decide we want to stay longer. We can do that because it's October or it's February. Now we couldn't do that in the middle of the summer, obviously, but we do have the flexibility to do that.
Yeah, I think that it's just, so I think for us, the major pro is that the world is our oyster and we get to just kind of pick, within reason, obviously, because it's a money savings thing, but we get to kind of pick our path, get to pick where we choose to go, and we're not tied down to one location.
We have the ability to pivot. Okay, the next biggest pro for us is being exposed to different cultures. Now, we spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia last year. We spent a lot of time in the Balkans. We spent a lot of time in Central Europe and Italy. Those are all fantastic places, but sometimes it gets old. Let's get re-stimulated. Right now we're in Mexico, and it's a completely different culture than we've experienced in the past. So that's something that we might end up getting tired of Mexico here in 3 months. Well, guess what? We get to go someplace completely different.
Right. And, you know, I think that for us doing what we do and being able to go to all these different areas and experience all these different cultures, it has expanded our worldview so much. We've talked about, you have this worldview that is very much framed by what you probably see on the news. I know mine was. And
so was mine.
And then you get to those locations and they end up being completely different than what people have forewarned you of or what the news warned you of. For me, that has been more educational than anything I ever learned in school. I can tell you that. And my view of being able to go into these different cities and into different countries and experience their religious views, the politics, everything is just absolutely different, and you just don't fully understand it until you're on the ground in those countries.
And I would say being here in Mexico is a perfect example of that. The news really skews people's opinions of certain parts of the world. Now, obviously, there are places you don't want to go, but I'll tell you what, we've been enlightened.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Well, and I think when you say skews your opinions, it's not with Mexico, it's not just skews your opinions, it outright just scares you. It makes you not want to go because you're so scared of what could happen. And this has been a prime example for us of how thankfully we have a lot of viewers that had shared their experiences, and so we went a lot off of that. We will be doing a video though where we kind of go into our experience in Mexico through our travels and where we felt safe, where we didn't, and just our experience with the whole thing.
Yeah, we're not through it yet.
No, we still have a ways to go.
We still have a ways to go, so stay tuned.
Another major pro of nomadic living, we see it as a pro, or I definitely do, I know you do too, is the minimalism. I think that if somebody would have told me years ago, you are going to narrow down all your belongings into one carry-on bag and one personal bag under the seat, leave a few little bags at home for stuff when you're home with family, but other than that, this is your possessions, I would have told somebody they were absolutely crazy. Yeah. I liked my closet. I liked my variety of clothes. I liked going in my kitchen, having a variety of every different utensil or appliance that you could need. But this to me now, I have embraced and I love the minimalist lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a life-changing experience that we went through before we even started traveling, which, as we were planning on traveling. So for us, it was a big deal. Now, I have like the bag I just bought. Is it expensive? Yes. Is it the only bag I've got? Yes. So I have a lot less, but what I have, I really enjoy.
Yeah, and we do. I mean, when you're only carrying one suitcase and one personal bag, you don't want to go get that personal or that one from, I don't know, Marshall's carry-on luggage or whatever.
There goes that sponsor.
No sponsors. But you don't want to go and get something like that. You do want to get something of quality simply because it's going over cobblestone. It's with you all the time. You spend the money and you're going to get what you pay for. So, but that minimalist lifestyle and just decluttering, we find we almost get, or I know I do, I get a level of annoyance now when I go home and I do have the more stuff because I have those extra bags that I've saved there with, say, winter gear or whatever. I have more changes of clothing. As much as I'm excited to get home and get those changes of clothing, then it's almost too much choice. And it's like your simple life isn't as simple anymore, and you really look forward to getting back on the road.
Right, and I work hard not to annoy Carrie. So when she does get annoyed, then I have to work even extra hard just to get her back.
He doesn't know I'm annoyed.
Adventure and discovery. Now the adventure part of this, we feel like we're fairly adventurous. We don't do extreme We don't do crazy things. Yeah. I'm not bungee jumping or anything like that. But we are looking to do some things that are a little more exciting, a little more adventurous. And we've got big plans. We're not going to tell you what they are. This isn't one of those hooks. But it's not time yet to introduce what we're going to do. But we do have some things planned for the first of the year that we're very excited about.
Yeah, I think that the adventure thing for me, in the very beginning when we started, the adventure was simply that we were on the road traveling.
Right.
And some people had asked us, well, why don't you go do this? Why don't you go do that? We didn't really need to go do any of that stuff because for us, just being in a new environment, a new place was adventure enough. But now that we've been doing this over 3 years now, we're finding that adventure isn't quite enough to satisfy like that feeling. We're looking for a little bit more. So like you said, now we're kind of looking at some of those things that Because once a year, we do something that is kind of a treat ourselves to some either big excursion, a different kind of trip, or something that is usually costs a bit more money.
It costs a bit more money, and we are going to offset that by doing our house sitting. So it's not going to be a budget buster for the year. It's going to be a budget buster at the moment, but not for the entire year.
Well, we just make adjustments.
We just make adjustments. We pivot.
Right. So I think that that's the beauty and the huge pro of being a nomad with the adventure part. If we were just, okay, yeah, say we're an expat, we just live in another part of the world, that adventure is harder to come by. That stimulation is harder to come by from seeing new things and exploring new things and having those adventures. But by being able to move all the time, we can simply research and go, this looks so amazing. We should go do this, and figure out if we can go do it.
Okay, now let's get into some of the maybe the more interesting things that you might want to hear, the cons. Now, there are cons to what we do, and I think the number one con, for me anyway, and I think I can speak for you as well, is the instability. You know, always having to change locations, always finding that new apartment, that new accommodation, just finding the light switches.
Yeah, everything
it's like,
is new.
You know, the light switches are on the left, not the right. So it's just one of those things where it's just kind of, you're always kind of training yourself to be in a new environment.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you think about it, your home base at home, you've got your home, you know, there's that stability of knowing where you're going. The other key thing with the instability, though, is the lack of routine. It is challenging to have a routine. We work very hard at it because routine, for me, is very important. I need to have a kind of a set routine. But it is really hard when you're constantly moving because, say, part of your routine is eating in, or part of your routine is exercising each day. Everything about those two elements completely change. Do you get the stuff that you want at the grocery store? Do you have a place where you can exercise? If you're in a hotel room, it's a little bit challenging. Right. All of that just changes. So,
well, even going on the long walks that I like to go on, some places are amazing.
Yeah.
Love it. And then we get to the next location and it's just not a possibility. There's really nowhere to walk or nowhere to go. So those are the things that really kind of, they do kind of adjust you, they affect your attitude.
They do, and we have found that in certain places that we've been in where we can kind of both get not grumpy, but kind of like bummed because we don't have those daily routines to kind of look forward to, like you're talking about. The walking is a really big one. We've stayed in places where both of us would kind of go our separate ways because we both had the place we wanted to walk. You would sometimes jog or run, and I simply was walking. But we had that just kind of thing that we could go do. You get into this place where, say, it's not even walkable, and it's, you know, that's taken away. So I know that's a tough one to kind of, can kind of put a damper on a location that we're staying in if we find that it's really hard to adapt to any level of routine. The next con is going to be loneliness and isolation. You know, this definitely can go for a solo traveler, but it easily can go as well for a couple that is traveling together. You know, we've got each other 24/7. And for some people, that's kind of concerning. They want to make sure, I mean, we get along fantastic with each other.
I was going to say, what's concerning about it?
We get along fantastic, but you know, I mean, you want to meet other people. You want to get together with, you know, that's one of the things when we go home, we look forward to getting together with friends. When you're on the road, that can be really challenging.
Yeah, I got a buddy that texted me just yesterday. We're down in Arizona because they have a short-term rental down in Arizona they use all the time, and a bunch of our friends are down there with them. Now, we're not going to get to be a part of that. And so I said, why don't you do that while we're home so we can get down to Arizona? But you do kind of miss out on those things that are going on back home that you'd like to be a part of.
Yeah, so I think that, and then when you're on the road, finding those, especially when you're moving faster. Now, if you're an expat staying in an area for long term, you're going to get involved in all of those local community events. You're going to find some groups that you can be involved in. But when you're in an area for a short period of time, getting involved in things is very challenging. You know, when you have 2 weeks, you can do it. You can preemptively like plan before you get to a place, try and find some groups and stuff. But it is a lot more challenging.
It's a lot more challenging, and it's one of the reasons why we've decided to do some meet and greets on the road. You know, we're here in San Miguel right now. When this video comes out, we won't be here, but we are doing a meet and greet here just to meet some some new friends, talk to people we have something in common with. Okay, financial uncertainty. Now, it is a thing, and it varies from place to place. We always have a pretty good idea of what our expenses are going to be before we get to any destination, but there's still that, uncertainty of how much you're going to spend and how much you have to spend.
Right. I think that, it's we can look at the place that we're going to be going to, and we have a pretty good idea of it. But it's a balancing act of your entire year. And it's not even just a balancing act of the year. If you plan on traveling like us for years to come, it's a balancing act of all of those years forward. Right. And so when you have that uncertainty, especially with inflation, we just did a video on inflation and how that's affecting our travels, you just don't know. But if you were to say stay in one location for a set amount of time, a long period of time, you know what's going out. You know what your rent's going to be. You know what the power bill is going to be. You know what all of those costs are going to be. You also got used to the grocery store. You know what you're spending on groceries. For us, that changes every couple weeks. Right.
Now, I know what we're going to get because we get this all the time. But don't you have YouTube income? We do have some YouTube income. We do have those links, that the affiliate marketing. We do have all that stuff, but that fluctuates as well. We never know what it's going to be, our paycheck at the end of the month. Now, we do work hard at this. We feel like we deserve it, but we never really know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So you can't count on it.
You can't count on it. It's completely unpredictable. There's no saying what, if you do well one month, that the next month that money is going to be there. So when we look at our year forward, we never count on any of that, really. We have a set budget, which we pretty much set when we started traveling, and we try and stay near and around that budget from here forward. We want to be budget travelers, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, that uncertainty can be very unsettling because it's really nice to know what you have each month or what is going out. But when you're moving locations every single month or every few weeks like we're doing now, you really just don't know. We arrived at, say, the place that we're at now, San Miguel. It's one of the most expensive locations that we've been in so far. And so, we kind of knew it was going to be more expensive, not quite as much as expensive as it is, but you just veer and change, and then you just make adjustments in other areas so that you can keep going. The next, for a lot of people, major con is going to be all the logistical challenges that come with this lifestyle. You settle in one location, you're only going to plan a flight, rent, all of that one time. Other than that, you're kind of maybe planning an excursion here and there. For us, we're moving no more than 2 weeks at a time right now. And so sometimes it's been a couple days, sometimes it's been a week. Each of those times involves a bus, involves a flight, involves new accommodations, involves so much.
You got to do all that. Now, on top of that, if you are working remotely, if you're doing a YouTube channel that involves a website and a newsletter, by the way, we have a newsletter if you want to sign up for that. We'll leave that link below too. That's free. If you're trying to do all this stuff, plus doing all the logistical stuff, it becomes quite a bit. We put a lot into this.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we got to find the accommodations, the bus tickets, the plane tickets, and everything else that's involved. It can be, I wouldn't say a full-time job, but a job.
But it's definitely, I would say everything involved, it's easily a quarter-time job,
3/4 time job.
Quarter.
Quarter?
3/4 would be like...
Half?
A lot of hours. But, you are putting a lot of time and energy into it. And I know for a lot of people, fortunately for myself, it's actually something that I really kind of enjoy doing. And so, but for some people, I know it's incredibly overwhelming to line up all of those pieces. So I know, for instance, we sat down and one day, it probably took me 5-6 hours, and I wanted to figure out our route through our next 3-month leg that we're going to be doing.
Right.
And we need to know that budget, but I'm having to figure out, I'm looking at where we're, just an idea of what accommodations are going to cost. How do we get to the next location? What's that going to cost? Is it a flight? Is it a bus? And you kind of map it all out. You have to kind of enjoy that somewhat.
You have to kind of, and I'm
glad a lot of
glad
time and energy
that she enjoys it, because I don't enjoy it as much as she does. There's also those excursions that are involved that you got to plan for as well, how to get to them, how to pay for them, and everything. So it is a process.
It is a process, and it's just time consuming. So I don't know. So I think that, when we're looking at all of these, for us personally, the pros far outweigh the cons, but we just wanted everybody to know and to really think about these cons, because they are things that you're going to be dealing with on a daily basis or on a weekly, monthly basis. How do you get into the next country? Is there a visa involved?
Right.
There's just a lot of research and stuff that you have to do. So it's not all fun.
It's not all fun and games. Now, I know we're going to get the comment, well, you guys are complaining, why not just stay home? Well, we don't want to stay home.
We don't
like
want to
Carrie just said, the pros outweigh the cons.
Yeah.
By far. So this isn't a session where we're just going to complain. We're just being real.
Yeah.
These are things that you need to think about before you jump in, because we don't want you to regret your decision based on what we say.
Yeah, we don't. One of the things that we very much try not to do on our videos or podcast is sugarcoat things. We like to share with you what full-time travel really is like, what the true experience is going to be like when you are on the ground. So if you were to watch us or listen to us, and then you get on the ground, we don't want you to be like, hey, wait a minute, Brian and Carrie never said anything about this. So we do try and keep it as real as possible for you. So we hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like to find us on other social networks, you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram at Brian and Carrie, and then you can find us on our website at brianandcarrietravels.com, where, like Brian said, we've got other resources. We've got a link to our newsletter, and we've got some other travel resources for you as well.
Check out that newsletter. She works hard at that.
Yeah, that comes out once a week. We won't spam your mailbox at all. You get one email a week from us.
It's free. It's
just some travel tips.
So if you like what we have to offer, you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.